Ronald Belford Scott, better known as Bon Scott, was born July 9, 1946 in Forfar, Scotland, and raised in Carrymere until he was 5, at which point his family emigrated to Australia. As a young boy, Scott started learning to play the drums. He left school at 15 and started his first band, the Spectres, where he played mostly drums. In 1970, Scott moved to Adelaide and joined the bluesy progressive rock band Fraternity. In 1971, he met a local lass named Irene Thornton, whom he married the following year, right before the band set off on a UK tour. While in the UK, the band opened for glam band Geordie, led by Brian Johnson, who, coincidentally, years later, would replace Bon Scott as the lead singer for acdc. On May 3, 1974, Scott suffered a devastating motorcycle accident, which left him comatose and dashed his chances of becoming a successful drummer. According to his wife, his voice changed as well, becoming harsher and less melodic. Once recovered, Scott took a job driving for a local glam band, acdc.
And I was the chauffeur, and I used to drive the band around from hotel to the gig and back to the hotel, you know. And these guys were looking for a singer, you know? And I said, I can sing. So they gave me a tryout, and I got the job.
Scott charmed his way into the band's good graces and officially took over singing duties for acdc in October 1974. acdc released its first album with Scott at the helm, High Voltage, in February 1975. The band performed the single, Baby, Please Don't Go, on the Australian music program Countdown, with Scott dressed as a schoolgirl, complimenting Angus Young's trademark schoolboy outfit.
When the man don't go, when the man don't go to the county phone, shout the call, baby, don't go.
At the end of 1975, the band released its follow-up album, TNT. In May 1976, the band released a second album titled High Voltage. The album consisted of tracks from the 2 previous albums. In November 1976, the band released Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap in Australia and the UK, but it would not be released in the States until 1981, since America's Atlantic Records rejected it.
Dirty deeds, done dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the done dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and the done.
The album would go on to sell over 6 million copies. However, this album, produced by Robert Mutt Lang and released in 1979, would make acdc one of the most famous hard rock bands of all time.
European bands don't play rock music, and if they do play it, they don't play it well, you know. So the only rock they get is from England, America, and now Australia.
Unfortunately, Bon Scott would not enjoy success for long. On February 19, 1980, Bon Scott passed out in a friend's car and never woke again. He was 33 years old. Although there are many conspiracies surrounding his death, the official cause was reported as acute alcohol poisoning and death by misadventure. The last person to see Scott alive, who was a witness during the police inquest, disappeared shortly after Scott's death and was never seen or heard from again. Bon Scott's cremated remains were interred at Fremantle Cemetery in Fremantle, Australia. It is now a national landmark. Bon Scott was known as a mischievous, fun-loving man who loved the ladies and was loved in return. After his death, acdc continued its path to success and became one of the best-selling bands in history.
We're what we are, and we ain't going to change for nobody.
No doubt propelled there in part by the charismatic Bon Scott, one of the greatest frontmen in the history of rock. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and to like the video.